No one's gonna believe that this is Josh Grant, 8 years old. Say my daddy. Keep it in focus, you know.
You know, obviously it was hard for my dad because he was always working or, just trying to pay for me to go race. You know, he was at the refineries and yeah, it was just wide open all the time. You know, just like, hey, what race are we going to next? You know, obviously we'll go to Whitney and Mosier and, you know, all the rounds, and it just kept escalating every single year to going, okay, well, we didn't win. Let's go, you know, here, won a few titles at World Minis, won a Loretta's, you know, but in the big picture, none of that stuff, I guess, even really matters now. So I started ditching in 9th grade, started jumping the fence, hopping into the orange groves. Dad wasn't home. A few of my buddies would go with me and we'd go back to my house and grab some dirt bikes and head out to the hills since I lived right, you know, around a bunch of riding areas in Riverside. So yeah, just, you know, one thing led to another where I was just like, all right, I'm not even gonna go to school anymore. So they just kept calling the house, leaving messages. I'd delete them, you know, before my parents got home so they wouldn't hear it. And what really stopped school for me was when I started driving. I was living in Redlands and I was going to like Rev High School. And I tried to do a semester and same thing. I was just like ditch to go to Glen Helen or go up to Victorville, go ride, and going back and forth. My parents were divorced, so my mom lived in Riverside, my dad lived out in Redlands, and was like, I'm not going to school, I'm not doing any of it. Like, I kind of just gave up on it. I don't really know where at in that point where my parents were like, okay, he's just not gonna do it, he's just gonna drop out. But I never even thought of it, you know? I was just like, no more school. You know, I'm making $300-400 a weekend racing REM. And at that point, you know, doing that and with a few little sponsors here and there, I was making more than my teacher. So I was like, I'm not going to go to school when I make more than the lady that's trying to teach me, you know? Like, it just doesn't seem right. So I just kept doing what I was doing and racing on the weekends. Factory Connection was like, okay, you know, let's go out and do a test. We'll see how he does. You know, let's bring out Josh, Tommy Hahn. And at that point, it was like Timmy Wiegand, Gosler. You know, there's a bunch of dudes. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just got on a big bike, you know, like 250s, whatever. He's like, yeah, let's go out to, I think it was Kahia Creek. And on the way out there, I'm just telling myself and talking to my dad, I'm like, what do I do? My dad goes, you go out there, you ride your ass off, you throw down the fastest laps you could possibly do until you can't ride anymore. That's all you got to do. He's like, the track might be smooth, it might be dry, you just go out there and you just haul mail. Give me some Brian McGavin turns. I'm like, all right, that's it. So I went out for the test for Factory Connection. And I was just laying down grease, just like, didn't even care. I was just like, the bike was so sweet. I've never ridden, you know, factory suspension. It's always been production stuff. I was just so jazzed on it. So I'm like, all right. And just laid it down. And they were like, okay, you know, thanks for coming at the end of the day. You know, appreciate it. We'll let you know what's going on. So on. I think it was like 3 or 4 hours later, they called me back and saying, hey, we want you to line up for Hangtown. In, I think it was like 2 months. And I just got, like, I was just like, oh, shit. Yeah, here we go. I'm down. Sign my contract. Next thing you know, lining up at the gate at the freaking Hangtown. Getting the whole shot. I mean, dude, my butthole had to been like, you couldn't, I was pinned, dude. I don't even know what to do. I was like, all right, I didn't know. I got a whole shot, and I was like, holy shit, this is what it's like. This is gnarly. So I just went as hard as I could for as long as I could, and then I fell over, stalled it, you know, did the whole deal. But that's pretty much just what kicked everything off, turning pro. I pulled like 15 seconds and like 7 laps. Cause I remember falling down and like scrambling, and that's when Hondas were like impossible to start. So they had the little hot start, little lever, you know, and I just remember sitting in that corner just kicking my life away. And it felt like 30 seconds. And I'm like, where is everybody? Like, why, like, what's going on? Then it's like, there goes James. I'm like, oh shit. Just my bike wouldn't start. I was so bummed, but just to have that kind of reaction and that kind of like debut. I mean, didn't turn out the greatest, but it definitely stuck with a lot of people still today. I think I just showed the team that I had a lot of potential, and next thing you know, that at that point there was definitely no problems with paying lights riders a bunch of money to go out and race, you know. And next thing you know, each year kept getting better and better with, you know, with results and getting on the podium and almost winning Daytona, Supercross for Honda, you know. So I had a lot of like really good finishes, and it just kept escalating into getting better rides, or not better rides, but just more money from the team that I was at. And that grew over, you know, 4 or 5 years, and that's pretty much when I started making like the most money, even more than now. Like, it's just crazy to think, you know, that like what comes with that, you know, obviously with making that much money, I mean, you hear the stories of all the baseball players and, you know, all that, like, hey, having big parties, and that's when the hanger-oners come around because you're making all the money and, you know, you're out having fun, and, you know, it just escalates into a whole new level. I think that's kind of where I got mixed up and was like, maybe let too much of it, you know, get to me. And I mean, I was still performing though, like I wasn't, you know, completely a mess or nothing, you know. I just like to have fun, and I was a young kid who didn't care about getting in trouble, you know. It's just, you know, the last thing I really wanted to think about at that time was, you know, and I've kind of put it off so long already with, you know, the point where I was like, all right, you know, I wanted my mom to pretty much just take control over it, you know, like, hey, we just handle my finances.
Started cooking meals at his house and hanging out there so much that I had bought a cookie jar to put on the counter. And my mom saw that I had bought this cookie jar, and she flipped out on me and said, that's when my mom told me, if you're gonna play house, you're gonna get burned. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? And she's like, you're putting your own decorations in his house. And all of this was over a cookie jar. Granted, it was a cupcake, but it was a cookie jar. And I said, well, if he wants me to be there and he wants me to cook him dinner, then I'm gonna have my own cookie jar on the counter. And she was like, okay, like, I get that. And that's when she said, well, if you're gonna play house, you're gonna get burned. And I knew what she meant.
She loved me, you know, like it wasn't about dirt bikes when she, you know, she didn't even really know much about it. And that was the coolest part to me. You know, it was like, good, she doesn't really care about that kind of stuff, and that makes it more real, you know?
The second he showed her, she started crying, and she said, this isn't the time for this, like, we're going to dinner, like, as soon as we get back, or in a couple days. And probably 2 or 3 nights later, we met her for dinner, P.F. Chang's in Riverside. Sue was not happy. I don't know. She was probably scared that it was, oh no, her time was up. You know, she was gonna have to start giving up responsibilities, and if she couldn't get her gambling under control, it was gonna become pretty obvious pretty quick that she was not being responsible with Josh's money. So, her way to maybe try to divert the situation or to manipulate it or change it was to suggest that I have an abortion. And I told her that was, and she waited till Josh went to the bathroom. So it was just me and her at the table. And I've always wondered why she didn't ask me the abortion question with him there. She waited till it was just us. I still don't have an answer for why she waited till he wasn't there.
Agent at the time, his wife, you know, we were all sitting up in the knothole watching the race, and had mentioned to Ashley.
Kind of came up to me out of nowhere and was like, do you know that Josh owes my husband X amount of dollars? And I was like, no, I don't see the finances. I'm not allowed to see the finances. Like, I don't know really what you're talking about.
But I gotta get this off, you know, like I just want to let you know that, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but I know Sue takes care of the finances, but that you owe Bob, like, it's like $60,000.
Just told her, like, I'll do my best to, like, get to the bottom of it, but I don't have any answers for you.
Ashley and I had never gotten into fights or arguments or any of that, you know, until we got home that night from the race.
We got in an argument, and I said, look, you owe this person a ton of money, or they say that you owe them a ton of money, and you don't even know what's going on with your bank account. Like, figure it out. And I left, and I was gone for a couple hours, and I left Wyatt there too. I was so upset. I just said, I have to leave. I have to remove myself from this, and you need to figure your shit out, because I'm not going to stick around if you don't get a handle on your stuff.
I called my mom that night, and I asked her, I was like, hey, you know, can I get the passwords and stuff for the, you know, bank accounts and all this stuff? I want to, you know, write it down. I want to start kind of learning it and getting it, you know, going. And she didn't really, you know, she made up some excuse or something like, oh, the password's not working. I have to call and reset it. I'll get back to you or whatever. And I just called bullshit. And I was just like, you know what? Whatever. I can call the bank, you know, give them the whole deal. So I called the bank.
I came back home a couple hours later, and he was on the phone, and he was talking to the bank. They finally verified that he was the owner of this account, and they let him reset his password. Right immediately we got on, and you could just see like San Manuel, like Pachanga,
Morongo, fucking San Manuel Band of Indians.
Just $5,000, you know, just every transaction was a casino transaction. And
$5,000, $2,000, $2,500, $2,500, $4,000. And I'm looking at the dates and I'm like, holy fuck, this is all in the same day. And I just kept going. And I just kept looking, and I'm like, no way. Like, I know my mom's told me, oh yeah, we're at the casino, you know, she went, every time I talked to her, it seemed like, oh hey, you know, I'm just out gambling with grandma, we're hanging out, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, never thought of it, you know, like, okay. Sure enough, it was just backdated for fucking 3 years of just, I mean, dude, there were some nights where there was a $40,000 night at Pachanga. Practically paid for half of them damn glass windows over there.
He like flipped out. He just started crying, and you know, he realized, oh my, I have no money in my account.
Of right when I had a baby, I had my factory rod that I've always wanted. You know, then this happening. So with all of that, I mean, all my mail got sent to her house because I was always moving. I was always going here, going there, and I needed one spot for everything to go to get taken care of so that I was taken care of. And that was my mom's house. So I never got mail. I never got letters. I never knew that my fucking cars and trucks and everything were on the repo list. I didn't know my house was in foreclosure because my mom wasn't paying the mortgage. I didn't know my taxes weren't getting paid because of everything was being sent there. And everything was thrown into this big trash bag for years. Just never even dealt with, but lied about. Oh yeah, you know, you paid taxes this quarter, so you need to chill out on your spending. You know, I'm like, oh fuck, okay, yeah, I got it, no worries. Sometimes my credit card wouldn't even work to fill up gas, and I'm just like, what's going on? Thinking I've got bad credit cards, and everything was just a lie. Everything was a lie.
The total amount spent at the casino that we had proof of was about a little over $1 million.
We weren't in really close contact, but then kind of out of nowhere, it was in January, I think, that I got a phone call, and it was just like, hey, you need to be here tomorrow. I was like, whoa, you know, what happened? What's going on? Is everything all right? Can't tell you about it. Just be here tomorrow. I showed up to somebody that was looking at me like they were staring at 10 ghosts because they couldn't believe it. Almost didn't want to believe it. Who wants to believe that?
You know, I called her back going like, hey, is this shit for real? Like, please fucking tell me you didn't do this. Like, you didn't, this isn't you. She started crying, and I was like, I hung up, punched holes in the wall, yelled at Ashley, and just that just switched everything. I trusted nobody. Like, I trusted no one.
You know, it's weird, especially for me, because I take a lot of pride in that. I feel like I can tell somebody, like, you know, you can feel somebody out, but for somebody to be like, you know, who doesn't trust their mom? And then for it to be like that, where you're left with nothing, it's stuff most people don't ever even think about or even can fathom. Like, to them, that's not real.
So it's Friday, the day before the race in Colorado, and John Ayers, you know, he's one of the guys that works for, you know, the Lucas Oil, you know, motocross series and whatever with Davey Coombs. Comes by the motorhome and he's like, hey, you know, you want to come take a ride and come check out the track, you know, hop in the Rhino, we'll go, you know, just check everything out and tell me what you think. And because I was there early just hanging out, I'm like, yeah, no problem. And we're cruising around, and this is at the time where the motocross series was making these little drop-off walls for their advertisements, so you could see, you know, Lucas Oil and, you know, all this Geico and all the, you know, advertisements and stuff. And they're supposed to have these X's on the jump saying, hey, they're here. You know, we put a drop-off here. Nobody roll down the thing. No X's were up there.
I didn't even think anything of it, and I'm sitting in the motorhome, and people start running in the motorhome, like, asking what Josh is, like, where's Josh? And then I see my dad, like, run by the window, and
sure enough, he rolls over the roller, and they had cut the drop-off, but forgot to put the stakes in the ground. And we endoed the Rhino, crashed. I flipped out of the thing, crushing my other knee and my shoulder.
Flipping the Rhino, I mean, there's pictures of it. Like, it wasn't just like a little crash. It was a big crash. And John came into our motorhome and he was crying and he was so upset and apologetic. And it was just like one more thing, you know, just added to the list of things.
So I tore my opposite ACL. I didn't even ride. Was first just back at Colorado for the first time in 5 months of riding. And I already tore my other ACL. After all this shit had happened, I was just like, I'm done, you know? This is it. Like, I got to ride my factory bike twice. And pretty much just gave up right then. I was like, all right, I'm done racing. You know, this is it. Like, I can't take any more of this just luck or whatever you want to call it. Just, I was going through so much crap then, and it just nothing made sense, and I just didn't even want to be around. So I just gave up, quit. And for that off season, you know, I mean, it wasn't even off season. I was just done.
He was 100% depressed, like clinically depressed. Doctors diagnosed him with depression, and because he races and he needs to have his, you know, aggression and all of that, you can't treat depression in a motocross racer. So they kind of had to just let it go, and it was suggested many times that he see a psychologist and not a sports psychologist, because that wasn't the issue. It was for personal reasons, you know, to see if he could sort out the issues in his personal life, because they were obviously affecting the way that he was healing or not healing, and they were affecting the way that he was not performing on the track, and just injury after injury was a result of not being able to properly treat his mental state. So November 10th, I was getting my nails done, and Turtle and Josh were the only ones home, and Turtle answered the door, and it was a man in a suit or dressed really nice, and he asked for Josh Grant, and I guess he had paperwork in his hand, and Josh went to the door, and
I shut the door because the guy asked me, he's like, hey, can you shut the door, whatever. I'm like, what's going on here? And it's a guy from the Internal Revenue System, the IRS, at my front door before we're leaving to go to our wedding, or go to LA for our wedding. He goes, you know that you're going to jail because you haven't paid the IRS in 4 years for tax evasion. And I was just like, freaking heart dropped. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what?
Thank God Josh had a case number and proof that he was taking action to fix the situation, because
going to jail, the guy was telling me, I'm here to take you to jail. And I'm like, well, before you do that, I have a police report, if that does anything, because I had money stolen and I'm not able to pay for it, like. He's like, well, yeah, and then, give me the police report. I gave him the police report, reference number. Investigator Johnson was the guy's name that I talked to down there. Still remember the guy. Investigator Johnson, here's his number. So the guy calls him up, was like, hey, is this Investigator Johnson, blah, blah, blah. Gave him his badge number, said, yep, this case is legit. This is going on, blah, blah, blah. Okay, thank you.
He said, I'll look further into the case number. He took the information, and we got married on Friday, and on Monday, his mom was arrested.
I mean, like I said, you couldn't even write this story out. It's just, and then we had the best days of our life the next day. From almost being in jail to having the best day of our life in a matter of 24 hours. Like I said, it's just an emotional roller coaster ride.
I think sometimes Josh always questioned, like, was it necessary? Did my mom have to go to jail? Because he never wanted her to go to jail. He wanted her to get help mentally. And he even put that in all of his, like, victim paperwork that, if I can choose what she gets rehab. I don't want her to go to jail. But, a crime was committed, and somebody is going to pay the price. And I will be damned if it's my innocent husband's, if he's the one that's going to pay the price. It's not going to happen while I'm around.
One of our really good friends from up north, Mike Kraniak, was like, hey, I'm getting ready to invest in a team. We're starting this team. Well, he's already had a team, but he's like, hey, I'm getting ready to start up a team. I want you to come race for me. I'm sitting there going like, oh fuck, here we go. Like, do I even want to contemplate? I'm just contemplating on it. And then I'm like, well, what am I going to do for a job? Like, I don't have any other option. Like, I'm not gonna go work at another, Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever, I had no idea what I was gonna even do. So I was like, I need to provide for my family. So I was like, all right, I'm in. And I just started working my ass off. It was just like, I had Wyatt there every morning, Ashley. I got up every day just going like, it's all for them, It's like, I had no other purpose but to do that, There was no other option but to go out, work hard, and see what happened. And so signed with the Craniac for the Jeff Ward racing team, rode for Kawasaki. Craziest thing is I got a call back from the JGR guys going like, hey, you know, we saw what happened, and you know, they kind of knew what was going on, and they're like, hey, we want you back on the team, you know, we feel like you're good. And that had never been done before. Nobody's ever actually left a factory team, gone and raced somewhere for 2 years, and then back to the same exact factory team in the ride. I was like, all right, you know. And same thing, had some good races, and just off and on, you know, just kind of ups and downs. Dealt with some more injuries and stuff, and
just last weekend, after this big crash with or in the first lap on the main, he was in tears again, and he's just telling me, I don't have the desire to race. He said, I think I've waited too long to fix this stuff with my mom, and it's changed who I am as a person, and it's changed the way that I ride. And he's just frustrated. And I think he's, you know, on the point of giving up on everything. He said he just wants to start over, and I don't really know what that means. You have to want to do it, and that's where my concern is with Josh is, you know, his body is hurting at this very moment, but is he so hurt that he can't race right now? I don't know. That only he can say that. Right now, it's about his will to race, and I think that that is gone. I think he can get it back, and I know that that's probably why he's outside right now, because he has no will to race, because his body physically, mentally does not have it. It's not there.
finished within the top 5 a lot, you know, so I had some good races, and which was surprising because I had I had a practice bike guy that would help me out at home, Jeff, but it was surprising because I didn't trust the Yamaha. Like, I didn't trust being on that bike, so I wouldn't even really ride during the week. Like, I would just pretty much show up on the weekends and race. So I wasn't getting like the right, like everything wasn't clicking together, but for some reason on Saturdays, it was just like everything was kind of working out. And, you know, I told Chad that. I was like, hey, I don't even really ride during the week. I don't trust my bike. You know, like I just had so many issues with it and just crashing and this locking up and just a bunch of stuff. So Chad, you know, called me and we're like, hey, let's try to figure it out. Let's do it. So I was like, all right, I'm down. Like, I'm in it, you know, I'm ready. And ended up getting a deal done right before Monster Cup. So actually I signed my contract probably an hour before the gate dropped at Monster Cup this year.
Having Josh on the team has been great, you know. My strong belief is that on a really, really good day, I think Josh is a 3rd to 5th place guy. But other than that, I think anywhere from 5th to 10th is his position. You know, that's kind of what we hired him for. And the last few weeks, he's delivered. And I'm really proud of him. You know, we came into the season, he had surgery on his foot, so he had a little bit of kind of lack of preparation towards the end of the off season, and then we had some issues on our part from 22 Motorsports that we didn't really sort out some suspension parts and things like that. So I think that as the years gone on, I think he's better prepared. I believe the bike's become better, and he's gelling well. So I'm real proud of him that he's just kind of stuck to the course of trying to get better and try to get in the top 10. And last week I was real proud of him to get a 6th place.
So he was going to be ready to race Budds Creek, and he called Chad to tell Chad that he wanted to do Budds Creek and get like a little preparation under his belt before Red Bud. And then that's when Chad told him, like, hey, I don't think we're going to go any further with the team this year, and that was the first time that we even knew.
The sickest team. You've got all the best guys that Chad's handpicked from everybody. Not only that are they good mechanics, but they're good people. So it was just like, oh, this is gonna be sweet. And towards the end of Supercross, I mean, we were killing it. We were top 5. I had like 3 or 4 top 5s at the end of the year, and Chad was right there. Chad ended up winning a race. Like, it was a good deal. So I thought you never expect the team to shut down right after that, or a few months later. So it's unfortunate, but it's just the way it worked out.
We just had to make sure, okay, are we gonna get paid? And if not, can we ride for another team? You have to be out there, you have to be racing in order to get your contract for 2016. So we needed to make sure like we could ride another bike. We had to get it in writing, and honestly, Chad couldn't have been more professional about it. He paid us and gave us an opportunity to still show ourselves on any bike that could have been. It didn't have to be Cowie. Josh could have rode anything that anybody offered him.
Sitting on the couch and going to Paula every once a week with Wyatt, riding on the Pee Wee track. We did that for like, I don't know, most of the summer, leading into those things. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. Chad's still gonna pay me. I'm just gonna recover and see what happens.
Josh had nobody had come to him. So he went and he bought his own bikes, and he got to choose, and he bought Suzuki's. Yeah, he was like, well, if I'm gonna ride a bike on my own, I'm gonna ride something that I haven't rode yet, and because he thinks that he could ride this shit out of a Suzuki, truthfully. And I think Cowie got wind that Josh Grant was going to go ride some Suzukis on his own for the last 4 rounds, and at that point we got a phone call from Cowie.
Will Hahn ended up getting hurt, so Kawasaki called, which I was kind of bummed because they had a spot open anyway from the beginning, like with Davey being gone, and it was just Will out there, and he wasn't doing anything special. So it was like, why can I not just throw my bike on the Cowie rig and go race? And that never was an opportunity until I started, kind of doing things on my own and just hanging out and, that's it. Like, so Cowie called me one day and was like, hey, would you want to come finish the last 5 rounds for us? Because Will just got hurt and we have nobody on the bike. And
it wasn't a lot of negotiating. It didn't need a lot of negotiating. Cowie stepped up and offered him what he thought was fair value. We didn't have to go round and round. Honestly, it all went so smooth. The transition from 2-2, the way 2-2 handled business with us, and the way that Cowie, it was pretty smooth, honestly. There wasn't a lot of drama.
you get to the point where you're just like, stress just kills you, you know? I'm like, I'm over dealing with it. And if I'm trying to be the most level-headed about, you know, the whole situation.
There's something really dignifying about being able to say, okay, I still have people that want me to ride, but I'm ready to be done. My body's ready to be done, and that is our new goal, is to go out on his own terms. Not because nobody wants you, not because you just injured yourself to the point you can't race, but because you decide, okay, I'm done, I'm satisfied with my career, and you can sleep at night with finishing that way.
Yeah, it's just unpredictable, and it gets scary, and you don't know what's next, and I don't know what I want to do next, and I'd like to, you know, race trucks and get into something, you know. I want to race, so I just all I care about really at this point is not so much of who I'm riding for or what, you know what I mean? Like, as long as I can support my family and make a living and put a smile on, I'm content for that.
I think a lot of these guys struggle with the transition into like the real world because they don't feel like they fulfilled their career the way that they wanted to. So when he's ready and he's satisfied, then I hope that's when he can be done.
30, I'd like to get fixed up so I'm 4 years old, I can still chase wide around and I'm not, you know? So there's a lot of things that I just, like my career and life can go in so many directions right now that you're just like, I don't know which way to choose, so you just throw your hands up. You know? I'll let the big man decide, like, I'm just gonna go with it, whatever happens, you know? Go with gut instinct. Feel like fixing your feet, go fix your feet, you know? You wanna go, whatever, go race, tape your ankles, go fucking run it, you know? I don't know, just go as far as I can.